Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Courage in Fur for more amazing dog stories. The story of Max, that silent Labrador, isn't just a dramatic rescue mission. It's an epic ballad of loyalty, memory, and an unwavering fight for justice. Every time I think about Max, a profound emotion stirs within me, a deep admiration for a voiceless creature who carried a heart greater than any human. In the dead of night, a desperate plea clawed its way out of the Blackwood forest, not from a human, but from a soul haunted by a forgotten past. The silence of Blackwood, Georgia, was absolute. A heavy blanket draped across the ancient trees. Then, a raw, insistent scratching shattered it, echoing from the dark, unseen depths. It wasn't the tentative pawing of a stray. This was a plea, a desperate demand from a soul who had been waiting, watching, and remembering. At Fire Station 7, Marcus, a man whose quiet demeanor belied a deep, observant soul, nursed a lukewarm cup of coffee. Beside him, Lena, a junior firefighter with an empathetic heart, scrolled through reports. The station was unusually still, a stark contrast to the chaos that was about to shatter the night. Then it began. A soft, rhythmic scratching, persistent, urgent, clawing at the heavy station door. Marcus felt the hair on his neck prickle. He pushed himself up, Lena's gaze following him, curiosity replacing boredom in her eyes. With a creak of hinges that seemed impossibly loud, Marcus pulled the door open. There, silhouetted against the faint glow of the distant streetlights, stood Max. He was a Labrador, once regal, now matted and caked with mud, his powerful body slumped, a noticeable limp favoring his left front paw. But it wasn't just his injured state that commanded attention. Clutched in his jaw, almost reverently, was a woman's muddy, torn sneaker. The laces, soaked in dried, reddish-brown stains, were knotted tightly. As Max dropped the shoe at Marcus's feet, a faint glint caught Marcus's eye, a small, ornate silver locket tangled in the laces. Max didn't bark. Instead, his dark, intelligent eyes locked onto Marcus's. They held a story, a plea so profound it bypassed words, slicing straight through the silence. It was a look that screamed, "Believe me. Follow me." A cold dread seized Marcus, not just from the sight of the limping dog, but from a flash of memory. Years ago, a domestic disturbance call, a woman's muffled cries, a distressed dog barking. It was dismissed, but Marcus had never forgotten that unease. Now, seeing this dog, with that shoe, a chilling connection began to form. Max didn't just get in the truck, he nudged the door open with his nose. Then, he settled himself in the passenger seat, his eyes fixed on the road ahead as if he knew exactly where they needed to go. It was a silent, powerful command. Marcus glanced at Lena, who was still staring at the locket on the shoe, a puzzled frown on her face. He knew that sometimes the most vital instructions don't come in a memo, but in a silent plea carrying the untold weight of unfinished stories. And this dog, this silent guardian, was about to lead them to one. The old forest rescue truck rumbled through the pre-dawn darkness, its headlights cutting through the inky blackness. Marcus drove them towards the edge of Whispering Pines Road, a forgotten expanse that stood as a skeletal graveyard of blackened trees. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and a faint, metallic tang. Old blood clinging to the shadows. Max, despite his limp, was already out of the truck, bolting into the woods. He was no longer just seeking help. He was on a relentless mission, every movement radiating a purpose that burned with his unseen past. He was like a phantom, tracing an invisible trail only he could see, remembering every step he had taken before. Marcus and Lena scrambled to keep pace, their human anxieties battling the dog's primal urgency. "Are we really doing this?" Lena muttered, her breath misting. Marcus didn't answer. His gaze swept the surroundings, feeling an unsettling prickle on his skin. The distinct sense of being watched. Every snap of a twig not their own sent a jolt through him. His veteran gut screamed they weren't alone. About a mile deep, Max stopped. His ears pricked, his powerful body stiffened. A low growl rumbled in his chest, not fear, but a visceral, primal response, hinting at profound recognition. His eyes, fixed on a low branch, gleamed. There, caught on the bark, was a torn piece of fabric. Lena carefully picked up the faded, blood-stained sweater. Her fingers brushed against something almost hidden in the cuff, a small, woven friendship bracelet, with faded, almost illegible initial beads, CD. Lena's breath hitched. This was no lost item, this was evidence. Chilling, irrefutable evidence. The silence of the forest, once merely eerie, now felt oppressive, suffocating. Max's eyes, full of a strange, urgent sorrow, pulled them further. He led them to a small clearing, choked with underbrush, where a mound of leaves lay unnaturally high. Max nudged it gently with his nose, then looked back at Marcus, his eyes pleading. Marcus crouched down, heart pounding, and began to brush aside the decaying leaves. That's when he saw it. A hand. Pale, dirt-streaked, trembling, still alive. The young woman's eyes fluttered open, blood caked the side of her head. Her lips moved, barely audible, whispering one word: help. Lena's voice shook as she radioed in the coordinates. Just as the paramedics began to load her, her eyes fluttered open again, locking onto Lena's. With a strength that defied her frail state, she rasped. He said, there was another one. He calls her the Shadow Child. The words hung in the cold morning air, a chilling, unexpected twist that froze Lena to the bone. This wasn't just a rescue. It was a descent into a much darker labyrinth. True heroes don't just find what's lost. They unearth what's been buried and confront the terrifying shadows that linger. The ambulance siren faded, but for Marcus and Lena the mission intensified. Max, sensing their commitment, transformed. The hesitant guide was gone, replaced by a silent hunter. His limp was almost imperceptible now, every muscle taut, every breath focused. He was no longer just showing them the way. He was pursuing, driven by a primal, burning need for retribution. The forest grew quieter, the silence oppressive. Marcus felt an unsettling prickle on his skin, the distinct sense of being watched. Every snap of a twig that wasn't their own sent a jolt through him. His veteran gut screamed they weren't alone. Max led them through increasingly difficult terrain. He navigated thickets of thorns, slippery slopes, and nearly hidden game trails. Lena, exhausted, slipped multiple times, catching herself just before a nasty fall. Max's intimate knowledge of this place, and his urgency, was unnerving. Suddenly, Max veered sharply off the famed trail, leading them to an old abandoned shack, leaning precariously amidst the skeletal trees. A tattered blanket hung from a broken window frame, flapping eerily. But it was the door that drew their attention. Fresh scratches, deep ones, like something had clawed desperately to get in or out. Max sank to his haunches by the door, a low, heartbroken whimper escaping his throat. It wasn't just sadness. It was the sound of a living memory, of a past betrayal echoing in that desolate place. He pushed the door open with his nose, revealing stale, putrid air. The smell that hit them was overwhelming, iron, rot, and something else, something old and sour and unmistakably human. Inside, the shack was mostly empty, but in the center, Lena gasped. Another shoe. Smaller, child-sized, blue with a faded cartoon print. Blood smeared along the side. Max nudged it with his nose, his eyes full of profound pain, of desperate urgency. Under the shoe, Lena found a faded, crumpled photograph. A smiling young woman, her arm around a younger, bright-eyed Max. A cold wave of recognition washed over Marcus. The woman in the photo. He knew her. A ghost from a forgotten call. He'd seen her face on missing person flyers years ago. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. This wasn't just a random act. This was tied to something old. Before they could process the gravity of their discovery, Max suddenly stiffened, ears pricked towards the back of the shack. A faint, almost imperceptible rustling of leaves came from the deeper woods. Then Max let out a growl, deep, low, the kind that didn't come from fear but from pure, unadulterated fury. He bolted. The dog wasn't running anymore, Marcus muttered, grabbing his radio. It was hunting. The trail led them down a treacherous, muddy ravine. Lena, exhausted and focused on the path ahead, slipped, tumbling precariously towards the jagged rocks below. Marcus reached out, but it was Max, with an incredible surge of strength, who lunged. His powerful jaws clamped onto Lena's jacket, holding her just long enough for her to regain her footing, his muscles straining against the weight. Covered in mud but safe, Lena looked at the panting, wounded animal. "You're not just a stray, Max," she whispered, her voice thick with awe. "You're a soldier, and you just saved my life." The past never truly stays buried, especially when there's a loyal heart determined to unearth it. And Milo's heart determined to unearth it. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of pine and the electric tension of impending confrontation. Max, now moving with a hunter's silent grace, led Marcus and Lena into a darker, more sheltered clearing. A natural amphitheater formed by ancient trees, and there, revealed in the gloom, was the chilling tableau. A young girl, perhaps 8 years old, was tied to a tree, barefoot, her knees scraped, her face pale, eyes wide with terror. Standing over her, silhouetted against a sliver of weak morning light, was a man, tall, thin, wearing a gray hoodie, and in his hand a glint of metal, a knife. His eyes, wild with desperation, suddenly widened in stark terror as they locked onto Max. A flicker of chilling recognition crossed his face, as if he was seeing not just a dog, but a ghost, a relentless four-legged specter of his past. Max let out a low guttural growl, a sound that vibrated through the very earth, a culmination of 5 years of silent vigil and untold suffering. Marcus, without hesitation, drew his weapon, his voice a low, commanding rumble. "Police, drop the knife." Lena, her training kicking in, rushed towards the terrified girl. The man, startled by Marcus's voice, twitched, his hand tightening on the knife. But before he could react, Max, a missile of muscle and instinct, lunged. He hit the man square in the chest with the force of a battering ram, sending him sprawling to the ground. The knife clattered away. Marcus was on him in an instant, slamming a knee into his back, securing him with practiced ease. Lena, meanwhile, worked feverishly to free Sarah, pulling the trembling child into a tight, comforting embrace. Max, panting heavily, blood seeping anew from his injured paw, limped over. He didn't bark, didn't growl again. Instead, he pressed his head gently into Sarah's side, a soft, broken whimper escaping his throat. It was the sound of a war-worn soldier finally laying down his burden, of 5 years of silent grief pouring out in that single profound moment. His dark eyes met Marcus's, a silent promise exchanged between them. Mission accomplished. At the hospital, after being thoroughly checked by paramedics, Sarah, just 8 years old, reported missing 3 days ago. She was in shock, but after hours of patient, gentle questioning, she began to whisper. "He told me no one would find me," she'd said. "He said the dog would remember, that he had left the scent." Her words validated Max's extraordinary actions. The truth, meticulously pieced together by detectives, painted a horrifying picture. John Walker, the man Marcus had pinned, had a dark past, linked to the disappearance of Chloe Davis 5 years ago. The same Chloe from the photo, the same woods where Max had led them. The canine reject the dog Walker had cast aside had returned not just to find a missing child, but to unearth a buried injustice, to finally avenge the one he couldn't save. Marcus, now holding the small silver locket he'd only briefly glimpsed on the shoe at the station, finally understood its full, heartbreaking significance. Engraved on the back, faded but clear, were the initials. C and M. Chloe and Max. This wasn't just a random clue. It was a piece of Chloe herself, a silent message from the grave, carried by the only one who remembered. A forensic team, using cadaver dogs, soon located Chloe Davis's remains in a shallow grave near the ravine, less than 40 feet from where Sarah had been tied. She was wrapped in her old sweater, with dog hairs inextricably embedded in the fabric. Max had been there when she died, and he had never left. He had carried the weight of that memory, that injustice, for half a decade. Justice isn't always swift, but sometimes, the memory of loyalty is more powerful than any timeline, echoing through years of silence, demanding to be heard. Max's physical wounds closed, but the deeper scars remained, a quiet burden he carried. He was wary, his eyes still holding the ghost of past trauma, but under Marcus and Lena's gentle care, a flicker of peace began to return. He still sought solitude, often staring into the woods, but now he would turn, his gaze soft, and return to the warmth of their presence. Amidst the outpouring of public admiration, a young woman arrived from Seattle, Dana Davis, Chloe's younger sister. She was handed Max's old faded collar. Max, sensing a familiar scent, a kindred spirit, slowly approached her. He didn't jump or bark, he simply walked forward, his head low, and gently pressed his head into her trembling legs. A deep, shuddering sigh escaped Max, a sound that seemed to carry 5 years of untold grief, a silent release of burdens he'd held for too long. Dana sank to her knees, burying her face in his fur, tears flowing freely. It was a reunion of souls, a testament to a love that transcended death. Adoption offers flooded in, but Dana, with 2 young kids and a quiet understanding of trauma, hesitated. Marcus and Lena shared her concern. Healing, they knew, was a long, complex process. The fire chief and town council agreed. Max deserved peace, not a new battle. One crisp morning, Max was missing from his bed. Lena found him standing at the tree line, staring into the silent woods. "You want to go back, boy?" she whispered. Max turned, his eyes holding a profound, knowing light. He limped slowly back towards the station, then pressed his nose gently into her hand. Lena understood. He wasn't seeking another mission. He was choosing his sanctuary, choosing peace. John Walker, the abductor, sat emotionless through most of his trial. But when the prosecution presented the blood-stained sneaker Max had dragged, the room went utterly silent. Sarah, the little girl Max had rescued, testified, "He told me no one would find me. He said the dog would remember, that the forest remembers." Walker received life without parole. Max became more than a stray, he became a symbol. The station built him a private, sun-dappled space with a window looking towards the woods, and a small, unassuming plaque. Max, the one who remembered. Sarah, her spirit slowly blossoming, found solace in drawing. Her first clear picture. Max, powerful yet gentle, his tail a protective arc behind her. She titled it, "The Dog Who Found Me." On the day of his medal ceremony, she walked right up to Max, a brave smile on her face, and gently hugged him. Max, for the first time in memory, let out a soft whine of pure contentment. Lena received a handwritten letter from Doug, a former sheriff now in hospice care. He wrote, "In 47 years of service, I've seen good dogs, smart dogs, but never one who led us to truth by memory alone. That dog carries a soul." Lena showed Max the letter. He sniffed it gently. "He forgives all of us," she whispered. Max began to slow, his steps growing more measured, his gaze softer. One snowy morning, he simply didn't wake up. He lay peacefully in his bed, curled in a familiar shape. Marcus and Lena found him there, serene. They knew Max had chosen his final moment, resting, finally, from a lifetime of relentless loyalty. Max was buried on a small sun-dappled hill behind the woods, marked not by a grand headstone, but by a simple plaque carved into the wood. Max, the one who remembered, the one who returned. It was a quiet farewell for a quiet hero. But that was not the end of Max's story. That very spring, the town, forever transformed by Max's silent heroism, chose to reclaim the fear. They transformed the once dark woods into Memory Grove, a sprawling park where fear was replaced by remembrance and shadows by light. A winding path through it was named Max's Trail, a constant reminder of the journey he took and the truth he brought to light. Sarah, now a little older, her spirit fully blossomed, often visited. You'd see her sitting quietly on a bench under the pines, sometimes drawing, sometimes just listening to the wind, her small smile a testament to the quiet peace she found. She remembered. Years later, Lena, still a firefighter at Station 7, would clutch a cherished frame. It held Max's posthumous Medal of Valor, an official recognition for extraordinary service in the protection of life, recovery of truth, and unwavering loyalty to those who needed it most. Every day, before she left the station, she'd glance at it, her voice a soft whisper in the empty hall. "Thank you, Max, for everything, for reminding us that even in the deepest silence, truth finds a voice, and a loyal heart can mend a broken world." Sometimes, the greatest rescue isn't from a physical place. It's from the silence we carry, the guilt we bury, the pain we don't speak. Max found people not just in the deep woods, but in their deepest wounds, and in doing so, he healed more than he'll ever know. He didn't need words, he remembered. And now, his echo of courage lives on, reminding us all that even in the darkest shadows, there's always a guiding light. Max's story is a profound testament to boundless loyalty, a powerful echo of courage that resonates with anyone who has felt unheard, betrayed, or wounded. He is a symbol for the marginalized, the deceived, the hurt, those whose voices are often silenced. He teaches us to listen with our hearts, to trust our instincts, and to understand that even the smallest act of unwavering dedication can change an entire world. Max didn't need words to be a hero. He simply needed to remember. And now, we will remember Max forever. If Max's incredible story of loyalty and resilience touched your heart, if it reminded you that true heroes often walk on 4 paws, Then make sure to let us know. Hit that like button, it helps us share more stories like Max's with the world. Share this video with someone who needs to hear a message of hope and unwavering dedication, and tell us in the comments below. What's your most unforgettable story of an animal's loyalty? And what lesson did Max's journey teach you about the power of remembering? Your stories, like Max's, deserve to be heard. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell for more true stories that prove courage knows no bounds. We're here to remind you that even when the world feels broken, a single act of kindness, a single memory, can lead us all home.